Debbie Stabenow takes a stand for college students on July 1st. Interest rates on subsidized Stafford loans doubled from 3.4% to 6.8%. But Senator Stabenow's Keep Student Loans Affordable Act of 2013 would reverse that rate hike.
We should not be, as a federal government, making a profit off the backs of students trying to go to college.
Today, students at Eastern Connecticut State University found out how interest rates on student loans will affect them. Senator Richard Blumenthal met with the students to talk about the changes.
Senator Kay Hagan is trying to bring student loan interest rates back down. She will talk about her plan today ahead of the Senate's vote tomorrow.
Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders says taking on the loans will be the Senate's first priority when it gets back in session after the July 4th holiday.
We have a whole generation of young people who are struggling to make it into the middle class. They can't afford to go to college in many cases. Hundreds of thousands of young people are unable to go to college at a time when we desperately need their help.
Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid said the current bill on curbing student loan interest rates just won't work.
House legislation is worse for students than doing nothing at all, Mr. President. Under the House plan, as interest rates starts to rise, student loan rates will rise with them. Soon, loan rates will be more than double.
A fix is in the works to prevent student loan payments from skyrocketing next month. Today, Senator Elizabeth Warren and several Democratic senators are proposing a short-term extension to the current interest rate.
Now, Patty Murray and other members of Congress are trying to freeze that low rate until the federal government, which has stalled on this issue, is able to come up with a long-term plan for college loans. Otherwise, they argue, students are going to suffer.
For these students and for millions of families across the country, that is a tax hike of $1,000. That's not fair to students. It is absolutely not good for our economy, and Congress has to act to fix this.
Student loan interest rates are set to double for thousands of students, but Senator Charles Schumer hopes to keep college tuition affordable here in the Southern Tier.
He tells us with student loan debt and college tuition costs rising, the last thing we should do is pile on these costs.
So hard to pay for college, but it's so important for so many kids to go. You have a college degree, whether it's an AA or a BA, you make a lot more money, have a much better chance of getting a job than if you don't have one of these degrees. And yet college is expensive. It's hard for even middle-class families to afford it these days.
Senator Baldwin co-sponsoring the Keep Student Loans Affordable Act, which is a short-term fix to cap student loan rates at 3.4 for another year and then find a long-term fix by next year.
What I hope is that during this Independence Day recess, where most of my colleagues are in their home states interacting with their constituency, that they're going to hear a lot about this issue and come back to Washington with new resolve to fix this.
Senator Al Franken, who has been fighting student loan interest rate hikes since his first day in office, says he's spoken with numerous students who've worked 40-hour work weeks during college to try to make ends meet.
Still, Minnesota, we have we're third in the nation in terms of the level of debt for our graduates, about $30,000.
After the Senate minority filibustered a bill last week that would have prevented student loan interest rates from doubling, he introduced another bill to be addressed in the coming days.
That would keep it at 3.4% for another year while we address a holistic approach to higher education.
There is talk that federal lawmakers could still strike a deal after the holiday break to lower the rates once again.
People on that committee, Senator Harkin and others, are continuing to work on some kind of a compromise. But my hope is that when we get back, we'll be able to work something out, because we should not see those rates doubling. It's wrong.
Lawmakers return to the nation's capital next week. Senator Dick Durbin says he expects negotiations to continue on federal student loan rates.
Think about this. At 3.4% last year on student loans, government student loans, the federal government made a profit of $50 billion. $50 billion bucks. The good news is that went to deficit reduction. The bad news is the students and their families have to pay it. Why would we tax students at this point in their lives?